Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the 435th meeting of RCDSO Council to order. Welcome to our first meeting of council in 2023. As a quick reminder for council members in the room and council members joining virtually, could you please have your video on during the entire meeting? And just to underline that we are live streaming this meeting through the RCDSO's YouTube channel so that members of the public, profession, and other stakeholders can observe our proceedings today. So welcome to our viewers as well. I would like to take a moment for a land acknowledgement this afternoon. Today, in this space, we wish to acknowledge the land on which our college sits. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron, Wyandot, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. But with many of us so far away from the RCDSO building, we invite you to reflect on the traditional lands in your area, which are home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge and honor the ancestors on those traditional lands we are on today. We stand in solidarity of murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, transgender, trans-identifying, and two-spirited people. Thank you. I will now present the report on the elections. The report on the 2022 elections is presented to council in accordance with our bylaws. To the newly constituted council, I present the results of the RCDSO elections, and you'll see this on a list of all council members, which also includes our public members and the university selected members. For council's information, there was one request for a recount from a candidate. Because voting is online and electronic and conducted by a third party, the recount was conducted by a vote validation document sent to the candidate. So I want to welcome our new council members to the table. I know that you will be engaged in the work of the college, challenged with very interesting issues. You will learn new things, you will make new colleagues and friends, and you will enjoy your time here, which I guarantee will pass in the blink of an eye. And I'd like to acknowledge our new members and present each of you with your college pin. So when I call your name, can you please come forward and accept your pin? Noha Goma. Daniel Haas. Anthony Mayer. And Robin Somerville, I know that you're online and we will be able to provide you with your PIN after this meeting. Aaron Walker. And Deborah Wilson. So before I finalize this section on the report of the elections, are there any questions about that report? Okay. I'm not seeing any online. So please join me in welcoming our new council members, returning council members, and congratulations to the full council of the RCDSO for 2023 to 2025. So now we will proceed to the formal roll call. So I'll call your name in alphabetical order. Nalan Bargava. David Bishop. David Bishop. We know David is here. I think he's just out of the room. Okay. Amelia Chan.
Present.
Ram Chopra.
Present.
James Colliver.
Present.
Christina Cordero.
Present.
I think I heard her online.
Yes.
We know Christina's there, right?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. Peter Delane. Okay. Nancy DeSanto.
Present.
Mark Eckler. Ellie Fisher.
Present.
Noha Goma. Daniel Haas.
Present.
Vivian Hu.
Present.
Anthony Mayer.
Present.
Harinder Sandhu. Brian Smith.
Present.
Usama Solomon.
Present.
Robin Somerville. I'm not getting any audio from my screen, but I know she's here. Yeah. Rod Stablefirth.
Present.
Okay. Mark Trudell.
Present.
Aaron Walker.
Present.
Judy Welikovich.
Present.
Deborah Wilson.
Present.
And David Bishop.
Present.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. So for the record, with Peter Delane, who I know was with us this morning, we have 23. That is the number that we will use in calculating the votes and the candidates who get the most votes. That's the denominator today. And if you need to leave the meeting for any particular reason, because a lot of the rest of the meeting will be spent on the elections, please let Angie or I know, because if you're not voting, we want to know what the denominator will be for that particular vote. I hope that doesn't happen, but just please let us know. So we'll now move to the declaration of conflicts of interest. And before I ask members of council to declare, may I remind you that conflicts are important to declare because of our public interest mandate and as a standard reflected in the Ministry of Health's College Performance Measurement Framework. Do any members of council have a conflict of interest to declare for any of our agenda items to be discussed today? So hearing none, we'll move on and we'll turn to our consent agenda. We have a consent agenda, which is used primarily as a time-saving mechanism. On the consent agenda today, there are usually multiple items that are for council's information or approval, and council will be asked to approve those in one motion. Council can, of course, ask any clarification questions about an item on the consent agenda, but if council wishes to have a more full discussion or conversation about an item, we will take it out of the consent agenda and address it later in our meeting. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will ask that the motion for the consent agenda be called to the screen. That the following items be approved and or received by council. Approval of the agenda and approval of RCDSO's council meeting minutes of December 1st, 2022. Do I have a motion for that?
Chairman.
Brian Smith, second. Mark Eckler. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? I think that's unanimous. Do I need to go slower on the votes? All right. The next item on the agenda would be remarks from the registrar and CEO. I do not have remarks prepared today. There's really only one item that we will be dealing with this afternoon. And just to clarify for any of the new members, this is the only meeting that I chair when we are in that transition period between the previous council and the new council and executive committee. So we will turn now to the elections. These elections are concerning the executive committee. And as the first step, and in accordance with our bylaws, I'd like to recommend the appointment of 2 returning officers for the supervision of the election to the executive committee. I'm recommending Andrea Foti, who's the deputy registrar, who would be acting on behalf of Jeff Goldberg, our CFO, who has been one of the returning officers for several elections in the past. And I'm also recommending Dana Simon, our senior counsel, professional conduct and regulatory affairs. And she has been active in this role for approximately 9 elections in the past. The returning officer's job is to supervise the e-voting that will occur, to receive the vote count and the results of the election, and then report to me as the registrar, and I will in turn report the results to you. As I will explain in a minute, the virtual world has made counting and reporting somewhat easier and also different from previous experiences I've had around this table. So for this item, can I have a motion? This is motion number 2 on the returning officers. We'll show that on the screen. Motion number 2 states that the scrutineers, returning officers for the election of the executive committee of January 17th be Dana Simon and Andrea Foti. Do I have a mover? Mark Trudell and a seconder, Vivian Hu. Any discussion? All in favor? Right. Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Thank you, Council. Today, you will be voting for the executive committee by confidential Zoom poll. In 2021, we conducted the entire election in a virtual meeting. And this year we will have, as you can see, most of you in this room and some with us remotely. The election and the voting will be using Zoom and will be the same experience for you, whether you're in the room or whether you are online. I'm going to walk you through some of the main elements of the voting procedures, and rest assured that I will repeat these as we move throughout the afternoon and go from position to position and ballot to ballot as necessary. Angelo, who's our manager of communications, and Aldwin, our director of IT, will prepare all of the ballots, and there will be several today for individual roles. And we may also have the potential for tiebreakers where we'll have to create ballots as we go. Angelo will also receive the votes as aggregate numbers only, not individual votes. And he will declare to me that all the ballots have been cast and our number is 23. And he will screenshot the results to our returning officers who will review the results. And the screenshot is a bar graph with totals per member on the ballot. The results will be communicated to me by one of the returning officers, and I will convey them to council. Your patience today is very much appreciated, as a hybrid meeting presents a few different challenges than if we were in the same room together, and it will take time to prepare each ballot through all combinations of results and nominations. These ballots are not prepared in advance because we do not know every person who might be nominated or self-nominated before we get to this meeting. We may also have to remove individuals from ballots as we go through the voting if there are 3 or more candidates and we see ties or different combinations. So some tips for you. All of you will use Zoom on your laptops and the polls will appear on the screen in front of you. Council members only are voting. If you are on a cell phone, and I do not think that we have that for anybody at this meeting, if you can't use Zoom, you can email your vote to Dana or Andrea, but by doing so, you are acknowledging that your vote will not be secret. It will be known only to the returning officers. But as I said, I don't think we have that circumstance today. College IT staff is on standby should anyone require tech support during the election process. If you require their support in the unlikely event that a council member completely loses your internet access, but you want to vote, then that technical support will put you in touch directly with one of our returning officers. This is a very reliable method for voting, but we do ask for your patience while we take time to do each step carefully. The mechanics of voting for you will be very simple. When I call for the vote, it will appear on your screen as looks like a poll, and you will click the circle beside the name and hit submit. Only hit submit When you double check, it's beside the name that you are voting for. Once it's submitted, it's disappearing from your screen and it can't be reset and it can't be sent back to you. So you do not need to rush, and we will give you plenty of time to check and double check if that's necessary before you hit submit. And finally, you may be invited to several times to address council if you're one of the nominees. An example of being invited several times is if you put your name forward for president, and then in the event of a tie, you would have a second opportunity to address council. And if you're unsuccessful and you wanted to vie for the vice president role, that would be a third opportunity. So there is that possibility for any of our candidates. And may I remind you as well that if you are elected, you will be invited to say a few words to council. You're not obliged to address council, but you will receive the opportunity to do so. So I have a few more things to say before we start. Are there any questions on anything that I've said so far? Judy.
Yes, thank you. I'm just wondering if you could clarify if there are multiple candidates in any contest, isn't a majority of votes required, or is a plurality sufficient?
Excuse me, it is 50% plus one is required for the win of that role. And then we have in the bylaws scenarios around ties. If there's a tie at the bottom where there's multiple candidates, there needs to be a runoff of those two candidates. If there's a tie at the top for two candidates, there will be a runoff as well. And Alan can certainly weigh in, because there are also scenarios for multiple ties and what happens after three consecutive ties, I believe.
Yes, don't do that.
We'll try our best. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Any other questions? Okay, so let's begin then. Council, you will be electing 5 positions for the executive committee: president, then vice president, then 3 more positions to assure a total of 3 dentists and 2 public members on the executive committee. This is a new council as of today, so the slate is clean. Should you run for a position and be unsuccessful, as I said earlier, you can certainly put your name forward for subsequent positions. So we're going to start with the role of president. I have received 1 name prior to this meeting for the position of president, Dr. Harinder Sandhu. Dr. Sandhu, do you agree to let your name stand for this role?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations or self-nominations from the floor for the position of president? Not seeing any.
I sent a text to you, or a chat.
Thank you, Peter. So Peter, are you willing to let your name stand for the position of president?
I am.
Thank you. So we have Dr. Harinder Sandhu and Dr. Peter Delane. I apologize, Peter, for missing your text.
Yeah, no problem.
Are there any other names for the position of president? Okay. So I declare the nominations to be closed. Thank you very much. The following individuals then are running for the position of president: Dr. Peter Delane and Dr. Harinder Sandhu. Each candidate will have an opportunity to address your colleagues on council. I'm not going to be timing this, but I would ask you to keep your remarks to about 2 minutes or so. Please mute your microphones while the candidates are speaking, except if you are obviously the individual speaking. It's your opportunity as a candidate to tell your colleagues about your candidacy, and there will be no questions allowed. When you address council, remember that the meeting is open to the public. Please be respectful and professional in all of your comments. Be mindful of the college's role and your fiduciary duty to the public interest in all of your remarks. Focus on your skills, experience, and ideas that make you an excellent candidate, and avoid language that's critical of colleagues, and focus on language that is inclusive of all people. Everything that you say contributes positively and negatively to the college's trustworthiness as a public interest organization. The candidates will be asked to speak in alphabetical order. So I will first call on Dr. Peter Delane.
Very good. I was running for a few minutes. Wasn't able to get connected. So let me just open up my speech, and I apologize for the delay. Good. So before I get started, allow me a little indulgence here, but can you see me okay? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, Peter.
And you can see me, I'm assuming?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Before I get started, I just wanted to welcome the new members to council, both the elected members and those representing the universities. And I'm sure you're going to find the time at the college to be very interesting and rewarding. I'm kind of sorry that I can't be down there with you in person, but I can tell you flights to Toronto are scarce since COVID. And the thought of driving in January weather in the dark usually didn't appeal to me. So conveniently, we have this hybrid meeting technology. And if you can bear with me a few minutes, we'll get through this beautifully, I'm sure. As Dan mentioned, my name is Peter Delane. I'm a working dentist, a U of T grad, fluently bilingual with an MBA from the University of Ottawa. I'm presenting for president today. This is my third term on council, and before that, I did 2 terms as an on-council committee member. The committees I've been on include registration, quality assurance, discipline, finance, property, and admin, or FPA, as Brian would rather know, and fitness to practice. And this has given me diverse experience in college's core business. And with the FPA, I learned the nuts and bolts of the organization. Over the years, I've worked with stakeholders, including the NDB, which is the Dental Examining Board, and the CDAC, which is the Accreditation Commission.
Peter, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, Peter, we lost you very early on in your speech. So we're just trying to reset here. Sorry about that. Can you just hang on and we'll just make sure that we've got a good connection with you, and then you can start again with your introduction to yourself.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go. So anytime. Sorry about that, Peter.
Okay, so as Dan mentioned, my name's Peter Delane. I'm a working dentist, a U of T grad, fluently bilingual, with an MBA from the University of Ottawa. So I'm presenting for president today. This is my third term on council, and before that, I did 2 terms as a non-council committee member. The committees I've been on include registration, quality assurance, discipline, finance, property, and admin, fitness to practice. Has given me pretty diverse experience in the college's core business. And with the FPA, I learned the nuts and bolts of the organization. Over the years, I've worked with stakeholders, including the NDB, which is the National Dental Examining Board, and the CDAC, which is the Canadian Dental Accreditation Commission. And I know what new Canadians go through to become practicing dentists in Ontario. And courtesy of a couple of accreditation visits to Quebec universities, I have a good idea of the pressures on universities to meet high standards. The role of the president is one of providing leadership to council so that it reaches its decisions efficiently, ensuring members are knowledgeable and prepped, and to facilitate discussion among the members of the board, making sure everyone has been heard. The president should be seen as a conciliator, not as the final decision maker. At this college, the president also plays a role in leveraging talent and making sure we use the skills and competencies of committee members to greatest effect. The questions we bring to each council meeting are very important. They are our tools. So those of you who know me know I come prepared with a big box of tools. On council, we need to be inquisitive, skeptical, upbeat, positive, and willing to offer solutions. We need to keep asking ourselves, is this decision the best interest of the people of Ontario every time we do something? I want to bring that same toolkit and level of preparation to the executive committee. I'm sensitive to the fact that the executive committee is not there to usurp the council. The executive committee is not there to pre-approve decisions for council. Our council should not exist solely to rubber stamp executive committee decisions. In fact, if I had my way, council would take on a bigger role in decision making. We need to have great communication between the executive committee and council. We need to continue that what we started last year or the year before, where we get the summaries fairly quickly after. We can't wait 3 months for amended minutes of the meeting. And let's see, so, and we also need to make sure that the public has access to our executive committee reports as well. I went on the website yesterday, had a look, and we're about a year behind in executive committee meeting reports to the public. So, that's one thing that we have to work on, I think. So some of the standalone issues that we're going to see are going to be governance reform. And with what's happening in BC, that's at the forefront of our conversations. PLP, can we manage the risk, deliver balanced budgets, and still look after the public's concerns about PLP? Access to care is a big one. Can we involve the dentists and in our province? Or is manpower going to be an issue there? There are also a lot of smaller things such as specialist licensing exams. How about things like dental assisting regulation or direct-to-consumer dentistry? All these little things are going to fall on our desk at some point. It helps to know the build-up to these issues, and they've been around for the past several years, picking up tidbits of information along the way. Of all the issues we face, I consider transparency or any lack thereof to be of utmost concern. There are gold standards in the world when it comes to transparency of boards like ours, which is great news. So it means we don't have to reinvent the wheel or to raise the bar at our college. We live in a value-added climate. We must show what we do and how well we do it. To gain the trust of the public and shareholders, we need to be transparent and accountable. And in addition, the college has to be transparent with the board so the committees can do their best work. To summarize, I'm a team player who shows up prepared and ready for meetings, is progressive when it comes to governance, who understands his fiduciary duty, will promote transparency and accountability, will offer creative solutions when one is needed, and will continue to ensure that the public interest is job one by always asking the question, is this decision really in the best interest in the people of Ontario? I will need your endorsement to be president. If you see it fit to honor me, I give you my assurance that I will be transparent and work diligently. Thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you very much, Peter. I'm now going to turn to Dr. Harinder Sandhu for his remarks.
Thank you, Dan. As Dan has said, I'm Harinder Sandhu. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great privilege to speak with this esteemed board. My professional attributes over the last 30 years are on public record. Transparency, integrity, social responsibility, and respect for diversity have been fundamental tenets of my leadership. I also must tell you that I'm a foreign dental graduate. I came to Canada in 1975 and went to school for 10 years. Did a PhD at University of Ottawa, a postdoctoral fellowship at New York University, and then a specialty training at Loma Linda University, California, and served as career scientist of Ontario Ministry of Health. I'm a practicing periodontist, and I serve on active staff of London Health Sciences Centre in London. I have a solid academic and research background. I'm well versed in college standards on sedation and IPAC. My substantial research experience will be an excellent additional resource for the executive. I have extensive experience leading executive teams and crisis management. My public record shows that I believe and act collaboratively, and I'm a consensus builder. Among this council, many of you have worked with me, and some of you have been my students as well. I served as director of dental school at Western for 11 years. I served as president of the Association of Canadian Faculties of Dentistry and chair of Dental Deans Committee of Canada. I have served on Canadian Dental Accreditation Commission and have been an examiner of National Dental Examining Board. The American Association of Dental Education awarded me a prestigious fellowship, which I served in Washington, D.C. on public policy and advocacy, which prepares me for doing these roles as the leader of RCDSO. I have also attended a year-long Institute of American Dental Association, considered to be an executive MBA for educationist. Most recently, in October 22, the University of Ottawa honored me with the Alumni of Distinction Award for Exceptional Leadership. I have deep connections with all 10 dental schools in Canada. I'm a lifelong learner and have lectured in Canada, the United States, Italy, China, Brazil, and India. On the college side, I have chaired up to 3 panels of ICR over the last 8 years and served on Patient Relations Committee. I chaired a working group to write guidelines to allow dentists to use CBCT in Ontario. I also served as a member of Delegation of Duties Working Group and Working Group on Bloodborne Infection. Over the last 2 years, I have chaired the Registration Committee of RCDSO. And those who have served with me, the committees I've chaired, they will vouch for it that I come prepared and I'm a consensus builder. And there has never been on ICR panels where we could not come to a consensus at the end of the discussion, where everybody's opinion was valued, especially our public members. And I do believe that on ICR panels, our public members' opinions are very important. And without their participation, our decision will not have that credibility which we have with them on. Public protection is our mandate. The RCDSO does it well through the Registration Committee, Quality Assurance Committee, the ICR, and the Discipline Committee. And that is, as Deanna mentioned this morning, is 80% of our work. But then there's next 20% where we can do other things as well. I feel that if we have the membership support, as Peter Deline has also mentioned, public protection will be better served. RCDSO needs leadership, which has a strong moral impact on the membership. Then this leadership can use its soft power to convince members of their professional and social responsibility. This will facilitate access to care. In the council meeting of December, our deputy registrar informed us of the implementation of our strategic plan. Ms. Forty listed our priorities as follows: standards, access to care, service experience, EDI, governance, and practice models. And I absolutely on board with these initiatives. College work will continue. Staff, our dedicated staff is working on it, and it is an ongoing process. The backlog of complaints have been reduced. I commend the staff for that. There is a little bit of a gap of service on especially on CVC permits and sedation. And I'm sure that college staff is working hard on taking it up. In 2019, RCDSO convened a symposium to improve access to care. There were many recommendations made. Now access to care is one of our strategic priorities. It has been my lifelong goal about access to care. Under my leadership at University of Western Ontario, we developed a program which was called a dental outreach program, and we made it part of our curriculum that no dental student can graduate without going through this program and serving the underserviced. And that program has now resulted in an independent clinic called Rights Clinic in London, which serves people who have absolutely no access, no insurance, and it is doing well. To accomplish this access to care, we do need full support of our membership. Post-pandemic restrictions in dental offices have adversely impacted access to care. These restrictions have handicapped the training of dental students and have severely impacted regular dental care. I would advocate that our council and especially registration committee looks at various other possibilities, how we can increase capacity in our manpower, especially so for sports staff is concerned, namely dental hygienists and dental assistants. At this time, we have a very severe shortage of these people, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So I would hope that the new registration committee and council in its wisdom will look at other models where we can have change the bylaws and bring some new proposals forward to address this lack of capacity. We need to be bold. As Deanna mentioned this morning, we don't have to be complacent, we have to be courageous. And I see this council has the power to do that, and I will continue to advocate for it. I definitely want to make sure that if I'm elected president, I'm constantly in touch with each one of you. You'll be able to call me at any time, and everybody's voice will be heard. And I hope that you will support me for this position. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harinder. So we are now prepared to cast the votes. Candidates will be listed in alphabetical order by last name. You may only vote for one candidate on the ballot. You may only vote once in each round of voting, and only council members will be voting. Candidates, of course, may vote for themselves. Do not close or minimize the ballot as it appears on your screen before voting. To register your vote, click the circle, as I said before, beside the name of the person that you wish to vote for, and then press submit. You can click between candidates and then click submit when you've landed on the final candidate. So just make sure you double check that. So in a moment, those ballots will appear, and our total number of ballots based on the roll call and those who still remain is 23. So a candidate to win must have 50% plus one of the votes. So I'll turn it over to staff to start the voting process. Minimize CX. Members of council, I have a result, and I'm very pleased to congratulate Dr. Harinder Sandhu as the next president of RCDSO. Sandhu, if you would like to say
Just a
few
quick
words.
word. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for posing this faith. I just want to also mention last 2 years back, first time in the history of 155-year history of this college, we elected a woman president. Sandy Beniti, she served well for 2 years. And this year, you have given your confidence to me. I'm a visible minority, and this is again a first in 155 years of this college that a visible minority will be the president. Thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations, Harinder. Now it is the time where I will invite our new president, if he wishes, to chair the remainder of the meeting, or I will continue if you so wish.
You to continue to chair the meetings.
Thank you. We'll now open up for the role of vice president. So this opens up a clean slate for anyone who is not successful for president can nominate or self-nominate for vice president. At this point in time, are there any nominations or self-nominations from the floor for the role of vice president? Dr. Eckler, Mark. Turn your mic on, please, Mark.
It's my honor and privilege to nominate Mark Trudell for vice president.
Thank you, Dr. Eckler. Dr. Trudell, do you wish your name to stand? Mr. Trudell, I'm sorry, Mr. Trudell. Mark.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Just be patient. I'm checking every possible source of information. Okay. Hearing none. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Bishop.
I put my name forward in an email to you.
Would you like to self-nominate yourself?
Oh, said it.
Yeah, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so David Bishop. I apologize for that. David, are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay. So I call the nominations closed, and now we will hear from the candidates for vice president. And again, it will be alphabetical order, and it will be about 2 or 3 minutes. Please try to keep your comments to that, and I'll turn first to David Bishop. Turn on your mic, please, David. There we go.
My background is sales and marketing. I retired from Kodak Canada as director of corporate sales. My life has been involved around many volunteer organizations as well. And I would like to give you some idea of how much involved I have been with this college in the past 4 years. Last year, I was on the ICRC, of which Harinder was chair for some of them. We completed 140 cases, moved up through that number. Prior to coming to this college, I also did a term at the College of Nurses of Ontario, where I worked on the discipline and incapacity, plus being on the board. So I've had quite a bit of experience in working on organizations. In 2012, I was presented with the Diamond Jubilee Medal for outstanding and dedicated service to your fellow countrymen, community, and Canada, of which I very proudly bring this along, because volunteerism has been part of my life. I've been involved with the Children's Summer Camp since 1975. I've been the chair of the board. This is $1 million+ seasonal activity, and it has managed to survive. With St. John Ambulance, I'm on the order a serving brother. I've served on the Peel Region branch since 1991, both as a director and chair. I also served 4 years as a director for the Ontario St. John Ambulance Council. And just for a bit of fun, as I retired from there last fall, as chair for fundraising and the awards committee, I was able to connect with people and raise $62,000. So I know how to do some charity. I have served at Holland Christian Homes in Brampton as chair for the Grace Manor Family Council, and I've been liaison to the board of directors at that nursing home for a good number of years. I'm also at the city of Mississauga. I represent the city at the Greater Toronto Airport Authority. I'm on the committee there for the noise and pollution. So again, I have experience in working with people at all different levels and you might say activities. And I am quite open to working very much with Herinda. I recognize him so much helping me when I first came onto the board here, that this gentleman would take the time to teach me dentistry 101 so that I could be effective both as a board member and on some of the committees. So I thank you for bringing me that to this point, Harinder, and I would look forward to working with you very much. That I think is just a synopsis of things. I was joking to Dan that my hobbies are bicycling, although I wore out 2 hips doing that, and I'll be looking forward to getting on the bike. But I'm also a licensed pilot. That's part of the reason why I'm on the airport committee. And I'm also a licensed steam engine driver, and I have pictures here to show you if anybody wants to see a beautiful steam locomotive. But so planes, trains, and automobiles, Dan, that's what I've got on my resume. So, but it's been a real honor to have been appointed to this board and to meet and with all of you professionals, public members. I just feel just so privileged, as I say, to have worked with you and look forward to another number of years of working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David Bishop. I'll turn now to Mark Trudell.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to get together once again and with many of you in person today. It's been a privilege and continues to be a privilege to work alongside such a dedicated, capable, and competent team. As Dan mentioned, my name is Mark Trudell. I'm a public member of council, and I'm presenting myself for election to the position of vice president. Before I go further in introducing myself, I'd like to extend my personal congratulations to those members of council who've been reelected or acclaimed, and to offer a very personal welcome and congratulations to the 6 newly elected members to council. I'm very much looking forward to working together with each of you in this coming term. For those of you who have already known me, please excuse me and bear with me for the next minute or two while I provide a brief bio to the new folks on council. As a public member of council, I was initially appointed in June 2019, and I've since been reappointed for the term ending June 2025. I'm a professional engineer. I'm licensed in the provinces of Ontario and Quebec. I'm also a registered member of the Institute of Corporate Directors. I'm fluently bilingual, both official languages. My mother tongue is French. I'm a Franco-Ontarian. My wife and I reside in London, where we've raised 4 adult children. And over the past 40 years, my career has been spent in the private sector in areas of engineering and corporate management, serving as the owner and the president of a consulting engineering firm, which was acquired by a larger multinational, which is where I serve currently in a senior management capacity. I presently divide my time between this work and giving back to the community at large. In doing so, I've served on a number of provincial tribunals in an adjudicative role, on technical committees, both federal and provincial governments, and as a director on boards of not-for-profit organizations. As a member of this council, I've served on the Discipline Committee, the Fitness to Practice Committee, the former Finance, Property, and Admin Committee, and the Executive Committee. I consider myself to be a team player. I'm focused on good governance, on financial stewardship, on transparency, on accountability, and I am laser focused on ensuring that the public interest remains paramount in all decisions made. As a member of the executive committee for the past 2 terms, I've had the opportunity to closely monitor the college's progress in pursuing its strategic plan, to respond to the critical urgencies that we faced as a team, including COVID. I've had the opportunity to track the governance modernization at the college. And during our several in-camera meetings, I've listened carefully and worked towards suggesting thoughtful approaches in responding to confidential matters facing this college. We've witnessed several important foundational changes to this college over the last 3 years. And during this time, in carrying out my duties on the executive committee, I've kept, as you heard earlier today, I've kept my nose in and my fingers out. I ask questions. I reflect. I offer suggestions, but I do not take on the role of this college's very competent management team and staff. It's been a privilege working and serving on the executive committee, and I would welcome the opportunity to continue to do so as a public member in the capacity of vice president. In serving in this capacity, I offer the following: continuity and experience in addressing the challenging issues that this college faces presently and responding to ever-changing conditions and new issues as they arise. And I believe continuity and experience is it's critically important, considering that over the past 3 years, there has been a substantial turnover in the change of membership of this council, to the tune, I believe, of approximately 75% turnover. So continuity and experience. Number 2, I offer competency in governance with emphasis on fiscal management and risk management, particularly professional liability. In my professional life as an engineer, I have managed projects, the financial value of which exceed the college's annual budget. And as a practicing engineer, I have 40 years of experience in managing professional liability. And my third offer is commitment. To listen to the concerns and to seek the input of the members of this council, as well as the members of this college at large, to ensure that this college's staff has the resources to execute its strategic plan, including our 6 core projects. And most importantly, to ensure that the public interest remains priority 1. Election solely by a public member to the position of vice president, a first for the RCDSO, aligns with the province's governance and regulatory modernization, as well as responds to the college's regulatory mandate of public interest and transparency. I humbly ask for your support in electing me as the college's Vice President of Council for the term 2023-2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. So we will now go to the voting. You have David Bishop and Mark Trudell for the position of Vice President. We'll open up the votes in a moment. Hope you've had some experience now. Hopefully it was as simple as I said it would be. And please, we did not have this problem in the first round, but if there's anyone that does not get a ballot appearing on their screen, just please turn on your mic and let someone know. Does it matter what order I go in? No, I could like this public if I want it.
Yeah, it's the second public if you wanted. Well, that's 2 minutes.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Okay.
That's also first.
Yeah.
Dan, this is Jeff. I don't know. Dan, can you hear me?
You're coming in very late, Jeff.
Yeah, I was just saying I received a poll, so I don't know if that's a problem or not.
No, that's normal. All individuals on
Okay.
Zoom will receive the
Okay.
poll. We ask only council members to vote.
Members of council, I have the results and I'm pleased to congratulate Mark Trudell as the vice president of RCDSO. So now we are in, oh, I'm sorry, Mark. Yes, please.
Great.
Address
Thank
the
you,
council.
Dan.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank Mark Eckler and Vivian Hugh for their nomination today. Thank you personally very much. I would also like to thank David Bishop for presenting himself as a candidate as a public member. Well done, David. For my part, I'm humbled and I'm grateful to you, council, for your support today. And I very much look forward to continuing to serve the public interests as this college's vice president. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations. So we are in a unique position for the college. Typically, it has been 2 dentists elected in the first 2 roles. So the total complement for the executive committee is 3 dentists and 2 public members. So we have 1 and 1. And I'm now going to turn to the second public member and conduct the nominations and the voting for the second public member of the executive committee. I have 1 indication of interest for that position, and that's Brian Smith. Brian, will you continue to let your name stand for this position?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any nominations from the floor? Yes, Nancy.
Dan, I'd like to nominate David Bishop.
Thank you. David, will you let your name stand for the role? Great. Thank you, David. Are there any other nominations from the floor for the second public member? Okay. Have you seen any from the online? Okay. Thank you. I will close the nominations and our first speaker will be David Bishop.
Interest of time, I said my little piece about steam and everything else flying. Sorry, I've said everything about steam and cars and planes. My background, as I also have a little more experience. I did an honors program at Sheridan College in business management, and throughout my career at Kodak, because at times I had about 120 reports, that the HR factor in the company was very important, knowing where we stood in terms of retirements, people joining, and having a flowing group of people. And I think this also applies at the college. And I think Mark brought up a very interesting point about the huge turnover. And that can be quite disruptive in an organization, because that continuity is what we need to have happen. And I would like to work with Mark, with Harinda on this continuity. And I also feel strongly that this college needs a more selling program to its membership as to what it is doing. I hear complaints via one of, now not a member of the board, about the concern of fees and how it's being addressed. And I think we need to address that very sincerely. We have to look at where the costs are going, what opportunities we have for making a better college in the eyes of the membership. And I think that is absolutely true. When I talk to my dentist and her husband, who also is a dentist, they feel that the effect of the college is not coming through to them, that they have no choice but to be a member, but the college is not reaching out enough to sell them on how good this college is. So we have to do what I like to say in sales and marketing. You have to ring that damn bell about what we're doing here is really good for the profession, and let them know and get their agreement on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I'll now turn to Brian Smith.
Thank you. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to submit my name for your consideration of election as a public member on the executive committee. I have been appointed since March of 2020 and have enjoyed collaborating with my colleagues on council, staff, and serving on the discipline committee, elections, patient relations, and governance working group, and strategic planning. It's a very interesting board to serve on, and one that is vitally important to the oral health of all people in Ontario. My previous work experience would be of interest, hopefully, to members. I've sent this out in an email over the past weekend, just to give you some example of my previous work and involvement in community. I served as a director of emergency and long-term care services in Napanee for the County of Lennox and Addington. Served as a Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care regional program supervisor out of the Kingston office. Served as the counselor for the city of Belleville for 12 years, which provided me with a very broad background of issues and whatnot to work on. Worked as a treasurer tax collector for the township of Ameliasburg, my first 4 years out of Loyalist College. And that was quite an experience, particularly finding out from the taxpayers what their concerns were. I was also, I have also served as chair of the Quinte Healthcare Board of Directors, which is a amalgamation of 4 hospitals in Hastings, Prince Edward area, and chair of the Loyalist College Board of Governors. And so I have a broad-based understanding of the issues that come forward to governance for consideration. I think I have the experience and knowledge to work collectively with my council colleagues and staff and go forward with the changes that inevitably are going to take place, I believe, over the next few years, but always by keeping the best interests of the public that we're here to serve in mind, and looking forward to working with my colleagues on the executive committee if I'm successful, and doing the very best we can for the people we're here to serve. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Brian. So in a moment, the poll will appear on your screen and you will be voting for one of David Bishop or Brian Smith for the position of second public member on the executive committee. Council members, I have the results and I'm pleased to congratulate David Bishop for his role on the executive committee. So we will now turn to the second professional member, dentist member of the executive committee. I have two expressions of interest prior to the meeting. The first is Peter Delane. Peter, do you wish your name to stand for this role?
Yes, I do.
Peter, I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yes. Okay, thank you. And the second individual is Aaron Walker. Aaron, do you wish your name to stand for this role?
I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Yes. Nalin. Can you press your mic?
I'd like to self-nominate.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay. I declare the nominations are closed. So there are 3 candidates for this role. The way the bylaws are worded, we have to vote for 1 dentist position, and then we will do this again with any other nominations. So this is for the 2nd dentist position on the executive committee. So we will hear comments from the candidates, and we will start first with Nalin Bhargava.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So my name is Nalin Bhargava, and thank you, Council, for considering my candidacy for the Executive Committee. I graduated from the University of Toronto Faculty of Dentistry in 1987 and have been a practicing dentist ever since. I practiced in the city of Ottawa with my wife, who is also a dentist. I have a long history of participating in organized dentistry. I was president of the University of Toronto Faculty of Dentistry class of 1987. I'm a past president of the Ottawa Dental Society and former chair of the Ontario Dental Association membership committee. I am a former team dentist for the Ottawa 67s and presently am team dentist for the Ottawa Red Blacks. I have a history also of serving on boards. I'm a former past president of the Ottawa Girls Hockey Association and former board member of United Way Ottawa, the Briere Hospital Foundation, and the Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group Foundation. For the last 15 years, my focus has been mainly on the charitable sector. So I created and founded the Maharaja's Ball in Ottawa, which has raised over $1 million for local Ottawa charities. I was chair of the Montfort Hospital Fury for the Heart Gala, which raised money to buy a cardiac CT machine for the hospital, and was involved with the Ottawa Dragon Boat Festival Tiki Gala, which I chaired, which raised money for the Youth Service Bureau. I was awarded the Award of Merit from the Ontario Dental Association and the Community Service Award from the Ontario Dental Association, Community Service Award from the India-Canada Association, and was named to the Hall of Fame for the Indo-Canadian Ottawa Business Chamber. In 2010, I was named Citizen of the Year by the City of Ottawa and just recently served as an honorary co-chair for Mark Sutcliffe's bid for mayor. So this is not so much about me, but about we. And we as the RCDSO, what does that mean? And I can summarize that best in a story. And the story is this: it's the story of the mountain. There's a group of workers whose task it is to build a path up the side of a mountain. They have to clear the trees, build stairways, build a path, and get to the top. That's the workers. The job of the CEO of these workers is to make sure they're equipped with the right tools, the right resources, the right guidance, and the right inspiration. And that's what happens here at the RCDSO. Our college registrar, Mr. Faulkner, he's the CEO. His job is to make sure the staff have the tools to get to the top of the mountain. But then what's the role of the council? What's the role of us? And I see it as the role of us is to make sure we pick the right mountain. And so how do we ensure that we're always on the right mountain? And to me, it's a issue of yes and. I don't know how many times I've come to council meetings in the past with a certain viewpoint or a certain perspective. And mind you, my perspective is jaded a little bit because I come with the viewpoint of a practicing dentist. But many times I've come to council meetings and to my role on Registration and Discipline Committee, and heard another perspective. And that to me is the luxury of the RCDSO. We have three sides of a triangle here: public members, professional members, and staff. And each bring their own perspective and great perspectives. So many times I've said, yeah, I've never really thought of that, or I never really considered that point. And so the right way is, yes, I understand what you're saying. And can I ask you this? Yes, and can I add this? So yes, and, yes, and, yes, and. If we're all thinking that way, then we will never be on the wrong mountain. So I thank you in advance for considering my candidacy and look forward to working with the new executive committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nalin. We'll now turn to Peter Delane.
Hello, can you hear me? No.
We have to adjust something.
Not muted, so we're good.
Just 1 minute, Peter.
Get them to talk. We need them to. Can you get them to talk?
Can you talk, Peter?
Yes, talking. One test, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, a little bit of feedback, but just give it one more minute.
Okay.
Can you say something for us, Peter?
Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
You're great. Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, so Peter Delane back one more time. I didn't want to repeat whatever I said last time, but there are a couple of things I wanted to just emphasize. Listening to Nalin, yeah, it was good to hear somebody else. I'm actually the team dentist for the battalion here in North Bay, and I used to think that was an easy job until this year. I don't know why, but yeah, whenever I show up to the game, all hell breaks loose. So anyway, that's my limit of community involvement at this point. I want to also mention about the executive committee. So the executive committee, I know with our council, there's been a little bit of rumbling about it, and just we want to, members of council want to make sure that the executive committee is never too powerful and never making decisions the council should be making, and not there to replace the council. So, my feeling is, or my feelings with an S are exactly those. We have to be cognizant of that fact. We want an executive committee should be acting on your behalf when council cannot, for some reason. We have to, the other thing I want to emphasize too is communication from the executive committee to the rest of council. And I can tell you for a while, it was not good. I think it's better now than it was. And I think we're improving. And I think our previous president made a point, in fact, when she was running for president, she made a point of mentioning that the communication between executive committee and council had to be improved. And I'm here to say that I will ensure that that continues. yeah, let's be transparent at the executive committee. Let's keep council informed. And I think we'll have a much happier council and a better informed council at that. So that's pretty much all I want to say. And thank you very much for listening to me a second time.
Thank you very much, Peter. I'll now turn to Aaron Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody, for giving me the opportunity to address you. Although this is my first time in this room, actually, this is my third year with the RCDSO. For the past 2 years, I've been serving on the ICRC, it's the Complaints Committee, to avoid acronyms, including on a specialized panel that deals with incapacity issues and stepping in as chair occasionally as needed. So this has given me a window into the RCDSO's operations and has allowed me to work with the staff, who's been absolutely wonderful and is incredibly hardworking. I'm a general dentist. My practice is in a very small town in Waterloo region where a lot of my patients are old order Mennonites. In addition to that, I've worked in a lot of different communities. I've spent 10 years working downtown Kitchener with a very vulnerable patient base who faces a lot of issues in access to care and a lot of things that the RCDSO is addressing through the strategic plan. I've also spent rotation working up in Northern Ontario in Muskrat Dam. So I've seen how dentistry works and how our regulations affect patients at all levels and all different settings who face very unique circumstances. So I have a very big picture view into what our patients are facing and what we can be doing to improve our services. I had a lot of community experience. I love volunteering in the community. I volunteered in dental school in the docs program in London, even before it became mandatory. And then I continued on as an adjunct clinical instructor where I supervised students who were treating patients within that framework. And in supervising the students, it was a mentorship role where we ensure the students are getting experience, but also providing excellent care to patients in a compassionate way. In dental school, I also spent 3 months in Tanzania, getting some experience caring for patients there with another batch of very unique and interesting needs. And non-dentistry related, I was president of the KW Community Orchestra for several years, where I had experience working on a board and enacting, designing, and executing a strategic vision. My background, I have an MBA degree, so I'm excellent at identifying issues, prioritizing items that need to be worked out, and strategic problem solving in a way that aligns with the organization's values and mission. I also am working on a master's degree in health law, which gives me some experience and some knowledge about not only the legal frameworks in which we operate, but the healthcare system as a whole and how all the moving parts fit together there. So putting all of these things together, I think I'm ideally positioned to work towards the RCDSO strategic mandate and strategic plan. And I think I would be an excellent addition to the executive committee. So thank you again, and I look forward to working with all of you over the next 2 years.
Thank you very much, Aaron. So soon we will open the voting. You will be voting for one of 3 members whose names are on the ballot for the role of second dentist on the executive committee. We require 50% plus 1 for a winner. And if there is not any candidate that achieves that amount, then we will drop 1 person off the ballot with the fewest votes and hold the ballot again with 2 people remaining. Assuming there's no ties, we will deal with that if we see that. So you can be on standby and the poll will appear soon. It always says plus 1. Okay, members of council. So we do not have a winner on the first ballot. Peter Delane will drop off the ballot, and there will be a second ballot for Nalan Bargava and Aaron Walker. And Alan, just to confirm, because we are in we're going to drop off. There is no opportunity for further comments. We will prepare a ballot, and that will be with those two names. So give us a few minutes while we prepare that ballot with Nalan Bargava and Aaron Walker, and then the vote will appear on your screen. For those in the room and online, if you haven't voted, please do so. We do not have the denominator that I thought we would. We lost David Bishop, so we should be at 22, but we do not have that yet. Okay, we got them. Members of council, I have a result, and I'm pleased to congratulate Nalan Bargava. Nalan, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you everyone for your support, and I look forward to working with the upcoming executive. I think lots of work ahead of us, but lots to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have one more position. I'll take council's direction. Would you like a short break or would you like to keep going? Keep going. Okay. Our final position is for the third dentist on the executive committee, and I will open the floor for nominations.
I'd like to self-nominate.
Thank you. So Aaron Walker, are there any other nominations?
Yeah, I'm going to self-nominate Peter.
Peter, are you I saw you, but I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I would self-nominate if it's possible.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I'll close nominations, and we will now hear from first Peter Delane.
Hello once again. Look, I just wanted to take this time to congratulate Harinder, congratulate Mark and David Bishop. Nice work. Nalan, great job. And Aaron, you're a very bright star on this new council, and certainly look forward to working with everybody. And that's all I have to say this time.
We'll turn now to Aaron Walker.
I think. Add.
Okay, thank you very much. So in a moment, you will see the ballot. We have two nominees for election. So we'll proceed and we will know the outcome on this ballot. David's back. Members of council, I have the result and I'm pleased to congratulate Aaron Walker. Aaron, would you like to say a few words?
I'll just say thank you so much, everybody. I'm honored to be serving in this capacity and really looking forward to working with all of you. I think together we're all going to accomplish great things this year.
So thank you very much to all of the candidates, all of the nominees. Congratulations to the new executive committee. And thank you very much, council, for all of your contributions today. The newly elected executive committee will also form the nominations committee as per the bylaws, and they will meet in a closed session tomorrow on the slate of committee member recommendations. So they will be working to produce a full table of committee membership and chairs. As per the bylaws, the previous executive committee met in December of 2022 to review and propose non-council committee members. So this work tomorrow will add the council members to that committee list. The previous and new executive committees consider and balance a number of issues in making these determinations. They look at quorum requirements. They look at the structure requirements, including council and non-council dentists and public members. They look at competencies, work volume, internal conflicts between committees, succession planning, equity and diversity factors, and the preferences. So there's a lot of work that goes into balancing, and we know that the committee does its very best to make sure that all of those factors are balanced in determining what those committee structures will look like. On Thursday, January 19th, you will receive these recommendations regarding committee and chair appointments, and those will be for 2-year terms from 2023 to 2025. And you will have that for your consideration. We have scheduled a short virtual council meeting for that work to happen. I will also ask that council members be available in the event that there's a need to consult with individuals about committees in the next 24 hours, and that will be by phone call. It may not happen, but just to let you know that it may be something that the nominations committee would like to discuss with you. And just another reminder that we will meet virtually on the 19th, as I said, at 10 a.m. And also our next full council meeting is virtual and on March the 9th, starting at 9 a.m. I want to remind you that we have a reception in the room next door, and that ends the business for the meeting. The following motion, which is number 3 for the meeting, is for adjournment that the 435th meeting of RCDSO Council Day 1 on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 be adjourned. Do I have a mover? Debbie, seconder. Ram, all in favor? Opposed? Great. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next door, and we'll see you on Thursday. And if I could also meet with the new executive committee in the back corner for a few minutes, that would be great. Thank you very much, everyone.